Hey. So by the time you're watching this, you've already seen the thumbnail, so you know the big surprise. I'm pregnant! Yeah, check this out. See? See how pregnant I am? There's a baby in here. What? Yeah, for real, pregnant. So what is this video gonna be about? Well, it's part announcement and part I want to talk a little bit about my journey with pregnancy, how food has gone, how the Nutritarian thing has been going, or not going as it were. I'm gonna get a lot more into this, okay? So let's talk a little bit about my experience. Now, you know, on my channel, I'm always trying to be as honest as possible from my personal experience and what I'm going through. So I'm gonna go through a lot of the different things that I've been going through to sort of explain where I'm at, why I am where I'm at. Hopefully maybe you can relate a little bit and maybe it will be helpful for you. And maybe not, if it's not for you, you've never been pregnant, you're a man, you know, you didn't have an experience like I do, at least maybe it will help you understand a little bit about what some people go through and why, and maybe how we can all just sort of understand each other a little bit better, because that's really the goal of my channel, is to be very open so we can learn from each other's experiences, okay? So to start out with, I'm very out of breath, and I'm always out of breath. That's just one of my pregnancy symptoms, so I might be just sort of huffing and puffing a little bit, but I'm okay. So I'm about halfway through my pregnancy now, a little bit over halfway, and it's a girl. We're very excited. We tried to get pregnant for a really long time. For a lot of various reasons, it was difficult for us. We're very excited to be having a girl, and we're both first-time parents, so this is a really exciting time for us. And I want to describe my experience with pregnancy a little bit, and then how that relates to Eat to Live. There's not a ton of information out there about this, and there's not a lot of like support groups or anything like that for women who are trying to be on this lifestyle while pregnant and things like that. So also, I want to say as a disclaimer to this video, and this is probably the most important part of the video, amongst us women, we tend to be a little bit judgmental when it comes to other women's experiences with pregnancy. And if there's anything I've tried to do on my channel since I've started it, it's about being honest, being open, and not being judgmental. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that might make some people upset about my experience and the way that I've handled things. I've had some people that were a little bit judgy on my channel before, and I understand that because people have their own opinions and they know what works for them. But I want to approach this video as we're all, you know, pregnancy is difficult. It's probably one of the most difficult things a woman can do, and it's different for everybody. That's a really important thing to keep in mind. When we talk about Eat to Live, we talk about being a Nutritarian. All of our experiences are different. We're all coming from different backgrounds. We might have similar thoughts and patterns and things like that, but we all have different ways of dealing with things and different reactions and triggers and things like that. So I try to make this place, this YouTube channel, a place where we can all feel safe and comfortable. So please, no judgment about what I'm about to say. You can judge me as much as you want in your head, but let's not get mean. Let's just be very open and honest and talk through some of my struggles, and then maybe we can talk through yours as well down in the comment section below. So feel free to leave any comments or anything. Also, just as a side note, please subscribe to my channel if you like the kind of content that I put out and you enjoy the honesty and openness and a place where we can all get healthy together. Please subscribe so you can get my new videos whenever I publish them. Let's get into it, okay? So, as I said, I'm a little bit over halfway now, and everything's going really well. Everything so far, we've had our anatomy scan, everything seems fine. She's got 10 fingers, 10 toes, all the anatomy's good, you know, 4 ventricles in her heart, 2 hemispheres in the brain, 2 kidneys, blah, 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 all the good stuff, right? She's in a good growth percentile for her age, so everything seems to be on track. Now I'm gonna tell you about how I got here. I'm not gonna tell you, you know, how I got here, but I think that's pretty obvious. But I'm gonna tell you about how I got to where I am in this pregnancy, and how it's felt for me and how I've dealt with things. So when I started out with my pregnancy, I had a very, very difficult time. I found out I was pregnant at about 5-6 weeks, which for anyone who's been pregnant, you know the timing of things is really weird, the way they count stuff and the months and the weeks and stuff like that. So that would mean that I had only been pregnant for 1 or 2 weeks, something like that, about 2 weeks, 2.5. And by that point, everything was fine. I felt great. The only thing I noticed was I, didn't get my period, and I took a test and voila, I was pregnant. But it wasn't until about a week or two later that I started to get the really fun symptoms. So let's talk about the symptoms that I went through. My first trimester was hell. It was not an enjoyable experience. I did not like, there was only a few moments that I liked in it. Hearing her heartbeat for the first time, knowing for the first time, the doctor confirming that I was in fact pregnant after all this time of trying. Going through this with my husband, we were both first-time parents, so it's just so exciting for us. These kinds of things were just really exciting. When we found out she was a girl, everything was just amazing, right? These things were great. But these were very tiny moments, right? It's like, you have to do a lot more work than sort of reward in the beginning of a pregnancy, I think. And of course, as they say, as parenthood goes on, it's always hard. There's always challenges. There's always things that are gonna sort of outweigh other things and whatever. So my first trimester wasn't my favorite for several months in my life. That's a controversial thing, because some women, and I'm jealous of them, had a great pregnancy. They loved being pregnant, every minute of it. Some women feel better being pregnant than they do not. And that's not my experience at all. So just keep in mind, we all have different experiences, and I know only what I've gone through, and this is the only pregnancy I've ever had, so I can't compare it to anything else. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how women kind of get judgy about, and I think men even get like this too, towards pregnant women who maybe eat what they shouldn't be eating or gain a bunch of weight or whatever. And I want to talk through that a little bit, because I have a lot of opinions now on what happens when you get pregnant and you have a tough pregnancy, and what happens after you do that. So I recall talking with a girlfriend about, in the very beginning, I didn't understand this whole cravings thing. I was like, I think that's just BS. Like, I don't think it's real. I haven't experienced it. I think women are just using it as an excuse. Whoa, let's talk about that, okay? I have a different opinion now. So after about 7 to 8 weeks, I started to feel some very strong symptoms of pregnancy. And I was like an encyclopedia of beginning pregnancy symptoms, right? Like, I was getting everything you could imagine. I was getting dizzy. I had trouble breathing. I still have sort of breathless really easily as I'm, this whole time I've had it, even from the first few weeks. Taking showers were difficult for me because the hot water and the steam made it very difficult to breathe, so I could only take short showers. And standing up for a while was hard, just physically, so I couldn't do my hair, I couldn't do my makeup, I was just too tired. I would get tired at a couple times during the day, just like massive, can't even lift my arms kind of tiredness, eyelids closing, all that kind of stuff. I can't even function, I need to lay down. But that was just all the sort of side stuff that really didn't matter too much. Here's what was really hard for me. A lot of women have gone through this, but a lot of women haven't. The thing is, I've talked to so many women since I got pregnant, and so many of them were like, oh, I didn't have any of those symptoms, like, it was great for me, blah, blah, blah. That's great. I'm happy for you. I wish I had that experience, right? But mine has not been like that. So let's talk about what it's really been like for me. Okay, so settle in, people. All right, so let's talk about the weird, I call it kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of pregnancy, the first trimester, okay? So it's 3 symptoms that are completely counterproductive, counterintuitive, and you can't get over them. There's nothing you can do about them. First one is food aversions. The second one is nausea, and the third one is hunger. So I don't know if guys have ever thought about this. I certainly never thought about it when I was not pregnant ever. I've never considered it until I actually went through it. But so let's talk about food aversions first, right? I was watching this interview of Drew Barrymore, who was talking about her pregnancy, and she was saying that one of her biggest symptoms was food aversions, and I totally understood it once I got pregnant. But if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't have really understood the magnitude of this, because it sounds like, for someone who hasn't gone through this, these things could sound like excuses for eating bad, right? Like, they could sound like excuses for going off the rails and just doing whatever you want. But now I know that to not be true. A lot of the preconceived notions and opinions that I had in the beginning, I blew out of the water, because I just finally was like, oh, I get it now, right? So food aversions, what are food aversions? It's basically one morning you wake up and all the foods that you loved before, or just certain foods randomly, it doesn't matter what they are, but for me it was most of the foods that I loved before I couldn't even think about, right? My biggest one was chickpeas and hummus. if my husband even said the word chickpeas, I would just be like, oh, let's not talk about chickpeas, like, can't, right? There was a point where smoothies, and still smoothies are rough for me, but I can eat them now again. But there was like 3 or 4 months there where I just, if you said the word smoothie, like we used to try to spell it out, S-M-O-O-T-H-I-E, and I'd be like, okay, like I can sort of handle that. But if you say the word smoothie, I think too much about what that is, and I just, oh, don't say it, like I can't handle it, right? Kale, the word kale, thinking about stripping it off the plant, and you know, I mean, I'm into kale. You guys know I love kale. I love chickpeas. Chickpeas were like my favorite food ever, and suddenly I wake up one morning, you can't even say the word to me. So that was surprising. And then let's talk about the nausea a little bit, right? I consider myself to have had really bad nausea. Like when you hear a pregnant woman has nausea, I had a bad case, okay? I was not nauseous, like if you 1 to 10, I was like a 5 to 6 on the nausea scale, but 24 hours a day, 24 hours a day, nauseous. Just, I mean, you know, rocking on the boat kind of nausea. Like, it doesn't go away. You wake up in the morning, you lay there for about 10 seconds and you realize you're nauseous. Get up, start trying to do your day. You can get through, you know, as much of whatever activity you can get through until you just have to lay down, because laying down sort of just makes it so maybe you can think about something else instead of just how nauseous you are all the time. It just doesn't go away. Lay down in bed to go to sleep that night, still nauseous, doesn't go away. That to me is like one of the worst tortures you can endure. And I'm not being funny about that, I'm not exaggerating. If you're nauseous all the time, like nausea's bad, you know, I mean, imagine like the worst day you ever got sick from drinking or something, whatever, like that kind of feeling you have right before you're gonna throw up. I didn't really throw up, but I only threw up like 2 or 3 times the whole time. That wasn't my symptom, but it was just pure 100% all the time nausea, right? Terrible. I mean, it's like, how could it be any worse, right? Oh, I can think of a lot of ways, but it was bad. So all that nausea, and that lasted for about 10-11 weeks. That's a long time. It's the kind of amount of time where you start to go a little bit crazy, actually. You know, for real, like you actually start to get a little bit like, I can't take this anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm going crazy. I'm going out of my mind. How do I deal with this, right? And then the other thing, the third part of the Bermuda Triangle, Bermuda pregnancy triangle, is the hunger, right? So you get hungry because you're making a kid, like you're making a human, and you get hungry anyways, and then you get a little bit more hungry because you're pregnant. So now try to imagine, and if you haven't gone through this, you can't possibly quite understand this, but you could maybe understand the weirdness behind this. Try to imagine that you're starved, like the most starved you've ever felt in your life. You're super hungry, your stomach hurts, you're so hungry. But then you don't want anything. Everything you think of makes you want to throw up. You can't think of smoothies, you can't think of oatmeal, you can't think of chickpeas, you can't think of kale, you can't think of salads or vegetables or anything. Everything you used to eat before is off limits because it just makes you want to puke, right? And you're nauseous all the time at the same time. So being so hungry, but not being able to decide what you want to eat because there's literally nothing you can think of that sounds good. Everything in fact sounds terrible. Plus you're nauseous at the same time. It is like the weirdest feeling in the world. It's so contradictory, and there's nothing you can do about it because you have to eat, right? Like you're making a human, you have to eat something. So all of these things combined over a period of months, literally there's no days off. You don't get to take a day off. You don't get to be like, okay, uncle, like I need to chill for a bit. It doesn't happen. For me, that was a very, very challenging few months. What ended up happening was in the very beginning, I was very diligent about having these green smoothies. I would put lentils in them, which would never have bothered me before. I really love beans, and you know, I didn't really taste them much in the smoothie, but once I got pregnant, like your smells and your tastes are a lot more sensitive. So just having the smoothie after a while, it was cool for a while, but then I got sick of it and I was like, I can't eat this anymore. And then it in fact made me really sick. Like just thinking of it would make me nauseous, and I just couldn't have it anymore. Couldn't do oatmeal, couldn't do all the things I used to eat before. So I was like stuck, I was in a rut, you know? So I really struggled with that for a long time, just trying to find things to eat and feeling so nauseous and not having any energy and feeling so sick. Throwing up was not my symptom, so I didn't have a problem with vomiting. But I did vomit on a few occasions, and those were the occasions where I tried to eat something healthy first thing in the day. This is really weird, right? Like I was like, well, I should just eat fruit because it's a very calm thing. It tastes good, you know. Fruit always tasted good to me, so I was like, oh cool, like I can have some fruit first thing in the morning and maybe that will help me settle my stomach just to get through until I can figure out something else to eat, right? So one day I tried to have watermelon for breakfast, which is a very typical like ETL thing to eat, like eat to live, like you might have some cantaloupe with some flaxseed on it or whatever. I tried to have some watermelon, threw it up, right? But the thing is, like, vomiting isn't my symptom, so I was so surprised. I was like, I can't even keep watermelon down. Like, I mean, that's like one of the most innocuous foods you could possibly eat. Like, it's sugar and water basically, and I couldn't keep it down. But what was really interesting, and this is where it's gonna sound bad and this is where I'm gonna get judged, but processed refined sugar flour products, I could keep down, and they actually made me feel better. So when I ate the watermelon, and my friend was like, maybe you just need to like strong arm yourself through it. Maybe you just need to, you know, have this kind of specific type of, you know, you just need to eat healthy and it'll feel better. And I'm like, well, I tried that and I threw it up. You know, I don't throw up anything else, but I throw up fruit when I eat that. So I would try to have different things here and there, and they would just make me feel so sick. And so it was a really, really bad conundrum because I just didn't know how to get through it. I didn't know how to feel better. I didn't know how to get through my days. And so I started to eat foods that when I thought of them, didn't make me sick. And then when I ate them, they made me feel better, right? And this is where it gets weird and difficult because those foods were all processed, terrible foods. They're all standard American diet foods, right? Like, and I even ate meat for a while. I still eat a little bit of meat now because it's something that I can handle. It's something I can keep down. It's something that works, right? Because I'm trying to get enough protein. I'm trying to do some healthy things, and for a while there I could only have some meat. It's the only thing I could think of that I could eat. Like I remember on Easter, my friends had some Easter ham, and I was like, I could actually eat ham. That's weird. Like, so I had some ham because that's what I could eat, right? On Eat to Live and Nutritarianism, like that's a huge no-no. Like avoid meats, avoid processed foods, avoid all these things. But those were the things that actually, when I ate them, I didn't throw them up. So it was this huge conundrum because here I am. Practically, I am a spokesperson for Eat to Live. I'm a spokesperson for Nutritarianism and Dr. Fuhrman's diet. I have my own YouTube channel. My whole life is dedicated to this, and I can't eat anything but like terrible stuff. Like, you know, there's been Golden Grams, there's been Pop-Tarts, there's been meat, there's been, you know, full fat mashed potatoes with butter and, you know, just standard American diet foods, macaroni and cheese, standard stuff, not vegan, standard, right? So for somebody like me who, this is where it gets really weird because I know from the bottom of my heart that I didn't have a choice. I could not have done something differently. I could not have strong-armed my way into just eating these kinds of foods. I couldn't have done it. Maybe if I had like a personal chef or I had some meal delivery service or something, maybe. But even a meal delivery service, I feel like that would have made me feel really sick. Like, oh, I can't eat that, you know? So, I mean, maybe there's some circumstance under which I could have handled this, but I know, and for a lot of the mothers out there, we just, you know, pregnant people, whatever, we just don't have those types of options. Like, I didn't have the option of someone just like cooking for me. That wasn't an option for me. This is where it gets a little dicey because to talk about these things is really sensitive because women who've never gone through this would think, oh, like, you know, she's just weak. She's always been kind of weak. Like, look at her old videos. She used to binge all the time on stuff, blah, blah, blah. Very true. Very true. I'm the first to admit it. Clearly, I admitted it in my videos, right? But I also know that there was a physical barrier. I mean, it was just, it wasn't about, oh, I just have to go to the fridge and eat the right things. Like, it wasn't about that. It actually had nothing to do with what it's been in my life before. It was this complete shift mentally and physically of everything happening inside my body. And that's why it's really difficult because I think women get judged a lot during pregnancy by women who maybe haven't gone through this, or by men who will never have any idea what that's like. Maybe their wife didn't go through that, so they don't understand it. And it's something that we do to each other anyways, even if it's not about pregnancy, just about what we eat. You know, I've had some comments on my channel before, people that have alluded to the fact that they thought it was just a matter of self-control, that I just didn't have control, or it was just a matter of, you know, whatever it was something that they could do, but I couldn't, right? And those kinds of things make people feel bad. It feels really bad when someone says that stuff to you, especially if you know where you're at in your head and you know there's no other choice you have. Now, granted, there are times in life where, you know, it's just a matter of you just gotta like stick to your guns and do what you want to do. Like, you have to just eat this food. You have to just clear it out, be ETL, and that's it, right? There are other circumstances in life where other things trump what you're eating, right? So maybe your dad's dying and you're taking care of him, or you know, you're going through a divorce, or you have a terrible stressful job, or whatever it is, or maybe all of the above at once, and you don't really have much of a choice, or much, like, no mental room to kind of deal with that stuff. It gets so hard, you know? Some of us are able to thrive in situations like that, and some of us have to be gentle and pull back. So for me, knowing that it was a lot of that, but it was also a lot of uncontrollable, just this is what pregnancy is, you know, kind of stuff, that, you know, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of feeling like a failure, there was a lot of feeling lazy and like I'm not, you know, I'm not being a good nutritarian. Of course I wasn't being a good nutritarian, but like I was a failure, that kind of stuff. You know, there was a lot of that feeling that I kind of had to get through and say, look, I understand you're trying to create a human, and this would be the time that you need to be the most diligent about ETL, right? Of course, that's what some people would say, and that's what I feel in my heart. That's how it should be. But there's also times where we have to realize that we need to be gentle with ourselves and just do the absolute best we can, you know? I felt to myself that it was more important to eat than not to eat. I've just always kind of been that way. Like, I don't necessarily agree with not eating, especially if I'm trying to, you know, make a baby or whatever. I just think it's important to keep something coming in. I also knew from experience that if I didn't eat, I felt more and more nauseous, more and more hungry, and it hurt a lot, and I didn't want to end up in the hospital with an IV and all this kind of, you know, stuff attached to me or whatever. I didn't want to go through that. I wanted to just suck it up and do what was going to get me through the days. What got me through the days was standard American diet for a little while. I'm doing so much better now, so much better, but it took 10 weeks, which is like a really, really long time. 10 weeks is a crazy amount of time when it's just day after day after day. That's 70 days in a row, or even more. Maybe it was more than that. But I'll tell you, at the end of that first trimester, I started to just go a little bit nuts. I was like, I can't take this anymore. I cannot do it. I need some relief somehow. And while some of the standard American diet food helped for a while, it would only help for a couple days, and then that wouldn't work. So I'd have to find a different food that worked. And you know, it's just, you know, you go to the store, you want to eat something, and you bring it. I mean, I can't tell you how much money I wasted going to the store thinking, oh, this is going to be really good, and bringing it home and being like, oh God, I'm going to throw up if I eat that thing, or that's gonna make me feel so nauseous, you know. It's like the most frustrating like time. So there was a point towards the end of the first trimester where I just called my doctor and I was like, I can't take this anymore. I need some medication for this nausea. I'm not a medication person. I so like to do things naturally when it comes to like food. But I finally got a prescription for Zofran, which is, you know, everyone talks about that being like terrible for baby's development. Like, it causes heart problems, it causes breast cancer, it causes all these things, whatever it is. But there's a point where you just have to do what you have to do, you know? So I was very, you know, very careful about taking that medication. I took it only like half a dose once a day for a couple of days, and then I wouldn't take it for a couple days, or on and off for a day here and there, but just like half a dose once. Then that would cause other problems like constipation, and you know, then you've got this nausea, and it's just like, you can't win when you're pregnant. You can't win, and apparently you can't win when you're a parent either, so I'm in for it, right? But there was of course a lot of moments that were fantastic, right? Like I say, like just these moments where you suddenly go, wow, this really is worth it. Like, you might go through the hardest time of your life, but hearing that heartbeat, you know, or finding out that it's a girl, or you know, whatever sex it is, it doesn't matter, but like, you know, just finding out these things and seeing your baby moving around inside of you on the ultrasound, you know. Like, there was this one time where we were at an ultrasound and she was just like flailing her arms like crazy, and we were like, oh no, we're in for it. But like, it was so cute, you know. Just so many things like that. We're first time parents too, so it's clearly very exciting for us, and we're very pumped, and it's brought us so close that we just having a really, really good time. And then on the other hand, it's been the hardest time of my entire life physically. Usually I'm in the big thing is I'm used to being able to control things. I'm used to, if I'm out of control food-wise, I know it's my fault, If I binge on banana ice cream or whatever it is, I know it's my fault. I know it's something I did. And that I can fix it the next day, right? But as a pregnant woman, I just realized early on, like, I'm not gonna be able to fix this. Like, I can only do so much, and then my hormones are out of whack, and the next day everything's fine, and this day I'm, I feel like terrible, and it's hard. It's hard, we'll say that. Now that I'm well into my second trimester, everything's going really well. I get out of breath a lot and stuff, and I can't exercise the way I used to. I didn't really get to exercise too much in the beginning, which has also been difficult for me to deal with, but now I'm starting to exercise a little bit, doing a little bit of weight training, tiny bit, and some walking on the treadmill, just to kind of keep up a little bit as much as I can. I don't get it done as much as I want to, or as much as I, nowhere near what I used to be able to do, which is a little bummer, because I know I'm gonna have to wait for a while till I can get my hikes back and stuff like that. But overall, she's healthy. I feel really good now. I know I'm in for a world of hurt in the third trimester, and that's okay too, because of what I just went through. I know I can handle it. But my husband and I both really, really love ETL. He doesn't mind no salt foods. These are things that we really like. So we're going to continue this as much as we can. I've been doing a lot better than I was in the beginning, and just doing the best I can. Some days it's 50-50, standard American diet and then Nutritarian food. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. I've been able to get some oatmeal in again, some smoothies, some vegetables, soups, things like that are a lot easier to get a bunch of vegetables in. But certainly not perfect by any means, but I'm just doing what I can. So what I wanted to do with this video was update you on where I've been. This is why it's been, oh, it's just kicking right now. Woo. She says hi. I wanted to update you on where I've been, some of the first, I don't know if you guys would notice, but there's been a couple of videos I did where I was totally nauseous when I was filming them. Maybe you can tell that I'm a little bit green during them, but anyways, I wanted to update you on where I have been. Where I'm planning on going is probably still like one video a week is about what I'm interested in maintaining throughout. I want to do some giveaways. I want to do some product reviews. I have some really cool interviews coming up that I'm going to be putting up very soon, so look out for those. I want to continue to do interviews with vegans and nutritarians and people that sort of do this lifestyle already, so we can all learn from each other. I want to talk a little bit about pregnancy nutrition and childhood nutrition, family nutrition, and the challenges of having a family that is trying to do the ETL lifestyle, and how do you kind of continue with this and stuff. So it's going to be a lot of the same of what I've done. I'm planning on doing, as I said, a video a week. You guys can sort of follow along, and I think I'm actually going to be possibly doing some Nutritarian coaching as well on a regular basis. So if anyone is interested in some coaching, we can talk about that a little bit later. But I think I might be putting together some programs for that. I'm doing a little bit of it now. I really, really enjoy it. And so we can talk a little bit about that too if you're interested. So I just wanted to thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you sticking with me in my ups and downs in my life. We all go through them. Things are going to be changing a lot for me clearly in the future, but I 100% plan on sticking with you and continuing to support you. And let's just continue to support each other. I did this video because I wanted to be completely honest, like I always am in my videos. I wanted to be completely honest about my journey and talk about what it's actually like to be pregnant and try to do ETL or any specific diet when you're pregnant. It's very challenging, and I wanted to sort of just talk about how hard that is, and that it's okay. I think it's okay for us to not be perfect. We can't be. We're never going to be. And even though I'm nourishing a little life in here, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can for her. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm up to my gills and doing what I can. And I think that's kind of the point of this whole thing, is even if we're not pregnant, it's still about trying to take care of ourselves the best that we can. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I so value you. I valued you since you first found me, and I will continue to value you so much as we go through this journey together. So Let me know if you have any questions. The way, if you like the videos that I do, I always say the ways that you can support me are by liking this video, commenting, and subscribing. Those are the ways really, and share the video if it's something that you think could help someone out. So thank you so much for that support. Comment down below, let me know what you think about this. Did you have an experience like this when you were pregnant? Did anything I say kind of open up, some space in your brain that maybe you hadn't thought of before? Let's have a nice, a nice solid discussion about this that's not judgmental and is supportive, right? Thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. That was like more energy that I've ever used like in the last 5 months. Hey Moo. I can tell, I know she sees me. Moo. Hi. I mean, they are ignoring me. Hello. Can you say hello? Yeah. There you are. She misses you guys. She told me earlier, but now she's just a little shy. Watch what happens when I try to suck it in. That's all I got. Look at this big belly.